So today I'm going to talk to you about books and what books you should be reading on your entrepreneurship journey and what books will actually help you get started and help you open your mind up to new like money making ideas and just overall like help you. So I know it can be tough because you'll hear a lot of like book recommendations and you know that it's probably a good idea to read, but you don't know what books to read just because like so many people are saying so many different things. So that's what I hope to help clear up is at least give you some direction on knowing what book to read next. So before we begin, my name is Michael and I help young men in their early 20s start to clear up their free time and then use that free time for more purposeful work like entrepreneurship and developing better habits. So you can check out that link in the description if you'd be interested in that. So I remember my first full-length book that I read during my self-improvement journey, and it was How to Win Friends and Influence People. And everybody was, not everybody, but a lot of people in the content that I was watching were recommending this book. And I just like remember seeing this book sort of floating around. And like floating around, I mean by like in the thumbnails of the YouTube videos I was watching, in the titles. And I just remember like knowing it would probably be a good idea to start reading. And the main reason for it was because reading was what like the successful people were doing, or at least that's what they were talking about. They were talking about reading good books. And so I figured probably be a good idea to start reading. And so one of the influencers that I was following during my self-improvement journey, he recommended How to Win Friends and Influence People. And I watched like a full-length guide of the way like he talked about it and he broke it down. And I was like, maybe I should try to read it. And so I ended up figuring out a way to get this book. My roommate and well, it's actually my cousin and roommate at the time. He had this book, so I ended up just borrowing it from him. And that was like the first book that I decided to read as an adult, and not just the books that I read from college or like younger. And it was tough at first. Like I remember just setting goals of reading 5 pages at a time. And like sometimes I would read and I would not really know what I was reading. But the more I did it, I got better at it and I started actually getting the message out of it. And once I kind of like got into a flow of it and got more consistent with the reading, it actually became pretty enjoyable and the message was pretty good. I was like, this is interesting because I always felt like I was awkward and shy. And so now I have a book here talking to me about people and how to approach people better, how to work with people better, how to deal with them. And there's stuff in this book that I learned about. Just had to get a little bit of coffee there. Yeah, there's stuff in this book that I learned about that have stuck with me to this day. And so that's kind of what a good book can do. Like I read this book over a year ago, maybe even a year and a half ago, and like I still remember like major sections of this book. And so you hear a lot of people telling you, don't read just to read. Like you have to read and then take action immediately. But the thing is that you're going to take action no matter what. If you read this book and you relate to it in some way and you actually understand the message and comprehend it, then it's going to show up. Maybe not right away, but it's going to just naturally show up in your life. Like, for example, in How to Win Friends and Influence People, say one of the main points was be genuinely interested in the other person. That's one of the major themes in the book. Be genuinely interested in the other person that you're talking to. Well, now, when I'm in my daily life and I'm talking to people, and like, you're just doing your thing, and then a thought pops in your head, like, what if I just try out this thing that this author was talking about? And it's not even that you have to like try to do this, like it just naturally happens. It will just show up at some point down the road. And you get this thought, like, what if I try what this author was talking about? Be genuinely interested in the other person. And then you try it. You ask the other person questions. You let them talk. And then it works. Like you actually have a good conversation with this person and you see success. And you see the success that this other person talks about, the success that you'll get from following these things. So it sort of ties in what you did later down the road into that original message that you read. And it could have been months ago. And even for me, say I implemented something like that today, and I went to go talk to somebody today, and I try to be genuinely interested in this person, and it worked, then I would attribute that success to this book that I read a month, or sorry, a year and a half ago. And so that's the real power of a good book. And that's just one theme of the book. Think about all the other themes that it talks about. So if you can actually understand the message that the book is talking about, like don't feel the urgency to go implement it right away. I mean, it would be a good idea to, but just know that if you actually understand the message and you relate to it, later down the road, you're going to naturally implement the things that the book talks about. And so that was one book. So now think if you read a couple books, and some of these books talk about money, something that you're kind of interested in, but you don't know exactly how to get from where you're at to the goal that you want to get to, which is financial freedom. Say that you read a book that an author tells you some things that you can do to make it more likely that you achieve financial freedom, and you read this and you understand the message, well, then later, like, it's not like you're gonna read it and then instantly achieve financial freedom. You're gonna read it, and then some of the messages are going to enter your subconscious mind, and then you'll just go about your daily life doing the same thing. But some minor things will start to change because, say the author talks about like how to view your buying behaviors. For example, how to think when you're buying stuff. So, say I went to the grocery store and I was about to buy a lotion, and had the choice of two lotions. Well, before I read this book, I would just go to the grocery store and then just have a little debate in my mind of which lotion to choose. And then I would grab it and then I would go. But now I read this book, and now I'm in a situation where I have a choice to buy something. And now I implement what this author said about the buying decisions as a producer, and I have the debate in a way that the author was talking about from the book. So now it just showed up in my regular life. And that's just one little part of the book. Think about all the other messages in the book that he talks about for financial freedom. So, yeah, good books, they'll just naturally start to show up in your life. So, hopefully, that kind of makes sense on how you can read something and the behaviors and the mindset might change a little bit down the road. And I know the main point of this video is to tell you about what books to choose. The real answer is you should choose books that from people that you trust. So either it's written by someone that you trust, or it's a book recommended by someone that you trust. And I think that's the best source of how to choose your next book is a book recommendation by someone that you really trust, or a book written directly by someone that you really trust through, I mean, either you might know them in person somehow, or you have just like watched a bunch of their content and then you trust their message. It could be that, or it might be someone that you really trust their message and they give you a good book recommendation on how it changed their life. I think those are the two best ways on how to choose the next book is by a good book recommendation. Don't just go searching for the best book. But ultimately, like I'm of the opinion that if you read a book and it's not necessarily the best next book, it's still not bad. As long as you get something out of the book and you implement it in your life in the way that I was talking about just a little bit ago, how it will naturally show up in your life, I don't think it's a waste of time. So don't be afraid of choosing the next book, but try to at least choose something that will get you to your next step in entrepreneurship. So hopefully that clears that up a little bit about choosing your next book and what good books can do. And then last thing I just want to give you is some book recommendations that have helped me out. So the first one, best book I've read so far, is How to Escape the Great Rat Race, or The Great Rat Race Escape by MJ DeMarco. And it's just one of those books that I read and like some of the messages were just like hitting me. Like that's what a good book can do. Like some of the messages just straight like punch you in the freaking gut, like because they just like change your belief, or it's just like stuff that you've never seen before. And so if you understand the message and it like enters your brain, then later down the road, you'll just start to naturally implement those things. So I feel like that's kind of what's happening for me now. I'm just naturally implementing the things I learned from that book. So definitely would recommend that. How to Escape the Great or The Great Rat Race Escape by MJ DeMarco. Another one, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I was talking about that one a little earlier. Really good about developing your people skills, which is going to be really good if you're going to be an entrepreneur. You're going to need to have people skills because business is about being good with people. So keep that in mind, how to win friends and influence people. And then another big one is the compound effect. I forget the author, but I think his name is like Dale. Could be wrong though. But that's a really good book, The Compound Effect. And that just talks about how small changes add up over time. Like small decisions in your life and small changes of behaviors can create a totally different trajectory. It can create a compounding trajectory. So definitely recommend that. That has kind of like changed my perspective and changed what I think is the trajectory of my life. And a couple other ones I've kind of like one of them I half read, which is Think Again by Adam Grant. And that is a really good book. I do want to, this year, I do want to finish it. Like, I want to get back to it and finish it. But the first half was just talking about thinking in a new way and changing your beliefs and keeping your mind open. So, definitely recommend that. And last one, $100 Million Offers by Alex Hermosi. I'm currently working on that one, and it's pretty valuable. So give one of these a try for your next book, and hopefully this video has helped at least give you some new perspective on what books can do and give you at least some sort of direction on what book to choose next. So, thanks for watching. Again, check out that link in the description and hit that like and subscribe button. Thank you.